Hello, welcome to the Circle In Family Leadership Center podcast. I'm Margie, and I am delighted to be joined by Patti Cantalier and Fernanda Peleas today. This podcast is for parents and caregivers, and sometimes we're exploring a theme, maybe somebody interviewing somebody with expertise. Today, we're going to walk through an exercise that will help you see the why behind everything that we're talking about. We're going to do a fun activity instead of giving advice, and we're just inviting you to play along with us, um, enjoy it, and also hopefully come away with feeling secure in your parenting because you'll see why this alternative works, even if in the moment it feels a little bit hard. Anyway, so enough of that introduction and welcome. I'm glad you're both here. Hi, Patti. Hi, Fernanda.
Hi, Margie.
Hi, Marjie. Happy to be
Glad to
here.
be here.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, Patti is based in Washington, D.C., actually outside of Washington in Kensington, Maryland, and Fernanda is based in Mexico City. Right now, she's in a different town, though. Can you tell us where you are, Fernanda?
I'm in a town, it's San Luis Potosí. The translation would be St. Louis, but it's a state in Mexico and also a city in Mexico.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, both of you. So, Patti, I invite you to kick us off.
All right. All right. Well, as Margie said, we're trying something different today, just to give you a chance to think about your parenting or your caregiving, maybe in a slightly different way. This is a wonderful exercise. I've used it for years in the parenting classes that I've taught. It's called Out of the Nest. I believe it was created by Dr. Betty Lou Bettner and Dr. Amy Lou, who you're familiar with if you've attended other programs at the Family Leadership Center or listened to other podcasts. They're the creators of the 4 C's, the crucial C's. As we're going through this exercise, think about how you would answer some of the questions that I ask. Think about what you observe around town when we talk about that section. And then I hope that towards the end, you'll be able to make some of the connections that can be found in the responses that are being shared today. All right. So first off, we're going to pull up a way to record the responses that Margie and Fernanda give us and that I'll be sharing also. But we always like to start with, what goals do you have? Maybe if you're the parent, what goals do you have for your child or children? What sort of, when we embark on that, journey of parenting, we begin to think about, what we want to raise our children with, how we want them to turn out, what values we hope that they'll have, particularly when they leave our nest. Sometimes it's called launched. But anyway, and caregivers, it's the same situation. You're caring for children, that important job. And you probably have things that you want to make sure that the children under your care learn and experience, etc., as you're caring for them. So let's collect some goals that Margie, you or Fernanda have for your kids as you're doing your day-to-day parenting, or remember how you did your day-to-day parenting. What cropped up? What were you thinking of that you wanted to make sure your child had a particular value, a particular characteristic? Not the things we can't change, like physical characteristics, but just how did you want them to turn out? What would make them ready when they leave your nest and go out into the world on their own?
You want to start, Fernanda? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, the first word that comes to mind is accountability and being responsible in general.
Right. Accountability, responsibility. Yes, that was a big one for me also. That was at the top of my list, responsible. Probably out of fear, but anyway, my kids are grown and they are both incredibly responsible, so it worked. Anyway, Margie, how about you as you were doing your parenting when your kids were younger?
It was important to me that they be caring of others and of themselves, but that they're caring citizens, that they see themselves as part of a wider world, and that they care for it.
Yes. Okay. So
Um,
caring citizens.
yeah,
Other things, I think honesty was important to me. I was hoping that, I could count on them. I could trust what they said, that they would be good, honest people.
yeah,
I
Uh,
think of emotional intelligence.
mhm.
They have emotional intelligence.
Right, right. So important. I don't think that term existed when my children were young, but definitely.
I think another one is that they are able to work hard, like, have a good work ethic,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
that they can do hard things. Maybe I
Right,
add that.
right. That they're willing to do hard things and
Yeah,
not give up easily.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, that persistence or,
Problem
they
solving.
used to call it stick-to-itiveness. I haven't heard that recently, so I guess that's gone out of use. Um, Fernanda, were you saying something?
Yeah, I said that they're problem solvers. They can.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
yeah. Um, I also think that they, like, are generous, you know,
Mhm.
um,
Right.
and maybe that they're fun to be around.
Mhm. Yes. Have a sense of humor was
Yeah,
an important one in our family.
I think of free in the sense that they're not attached to worldly things per se. I mean, they value them, but they can face losses. They can adapt, flexibility, and I don't know how to
Mhm.
put that
Right.
in one word. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, in general, flexibility
Hmm.
is a pretty popular one. I mean, I've heard a lot of parents say that one.
yeah.
Yeah, anything else? We don't have to do everything, but, yeah, people get the idea. We're just thinking ahead almost. We're thinking to that point when they're 18 or 20 or 25 or 30 or depending on your culture and your situation with your own children. There's no one right answer to that one, but, what kind of a person do we wanna turn out into the world?
Cool. Alright.
Yeah. Any others before we move on? No? Okay. So
It's
we've
a
got
pretty
a
good
really
list.
nice list. We've got a really good list here. Okay, so we're going to set that aside, just kind of put it out of our minds. We're going to go to the other side of the board to the methods. So, when you have kids, and particularly when they're very young or of school age, you tend to be out in the community with them. And you also tend to be out with other parents. And likewise, caregivers are often out in places where there are children and either other caregivers or parents. And if you've sat on a bench in a park and watched your children or the children under your care playing, you've probably also watched other parents, other caregivers interacting with their children. So, what sorts of behaviors or methods of parenting have you observed in the other parents or caregivers in those public places, on the schoolyard, in the parks, in the shopping area, sometimes in the place where you observe your religion? I mean, that's when kids are probably sometimes not at their best. Whatever, all these different places. What have you noticed parents or caregivers interacting in particular ways with the children? I can give you an example. I do remember when I was parenting my kids, the more authoritarian methods of parenting were much more popular than they are now, at least in the United States, in the areas that I lived in. So the minute a child misbehaved, I would notice parents either spanking or sometimes yelling. So that was very common.
Okay.
So those were two things I observed. What about you two? What have you noticed?
I've noticed a lot of reward offering,
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
bribery, exactly, bribery.
it does verge on bribery.
Yeah.
What else have people seen?
I see a lot of people, saying like, "Oh, you're such a good girl. Do this for me, and then you're a good boy." You know, like, kind of like loading on, it feels a little like pressure to be good, to be, I don't know, is that the right way to say it?
Yeah,
Like
it's a
they,
little manipulative or
Yeah, that's the
oh,
idea, yeah.
trying to encourage them to do something by,
Yeah,
praising their
yeah.
essence, who they are. Yes, absolutely.
I
Uh,
also see a lot of permissiveness, like, just letting the children do whatever they want and just following along.
mhm, right.
and 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 I've seen people go from being very permissive to punishing or threatening.
Right. Right, you try the nice way. That doesn't do it. So, after a while, you just can't take it anymore. Right, absolutely. Um, I have seen parents and their children or caregivers and children, playing together, um, kind of enjoying each other's company, really getting together in the sandbox or on the swings and enjoying each other's company. It's not, there are those positive moments, which is so fun.
Along those lines, I see people really doing a good job of naming feelings, like, "Oh, you're
Mm,
really upset right now," like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, the one I
I,
hear around in the parks nowadays is, "Oh, you're experiencing big feelings. That's a big feeling," which that was new to me. Right. Other things. I've seen parents and children laughing together, seeing something funny and enjoying it. Let's see. I've also heard, the countdown method, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to count now, and then they
mhm,
count, and the idea is at 3, the child is supposed to be ready to walk to the car, let's say. Um, Otherwise, something's gonna happen,
something that.
you know, some
I,
punishment of some sort. Yeah.
yeah,
Anything else?
I've also seen some prevention in the sense that they'll tell the child, "We're going to go somewhere. We'll be there for 10 minutes. I'll let you know when you have such and such
Mhm.
time so you get ready." So I've also seen that.
Right. Right. So kind of giving them the heads up of here's what's
Exactly.
happening so that
Yeah.
they know becomes predictable. Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless anything else is like at the top of your list that you want to share, we have a good list there. It's a wide variety, both things that you might consider to be kind of negative, but also things that are positive signs of, parents and children or caregivers and children getting along nicely and enjoying the experience. Okay. So now we're going to go through some of the methods that you have identified and put ourselves sort of in the minds or in the shoes of the child, to try to get at how they might feel when they are experiencing that particular behavior from their parent. So for example, if you were a kid and your parent wanted you to do something and you hadn't done it yet and the parent started yelling at you, as that child, how do you think you would feel in that situation? What would that feel like?
Maybe fearful.
Yeah, right. You might feel afraid, fearful. Absolutely. Um, what about if someone is telling you that if you do what they want, you'll get something nice, like a treat, or we'll stop for ice cream, or I'll give you $1, or whatever kind of money. How as that child might you feel, do you think?
I would feel small. Like,
Small?
yeah.
Okay. Any other feelings for that one? I mean, my guess is some kids would say, "Yay, ice cream," you know?
Excited baby. Yeah. Yeah.
So they might like it, they might like it. Okay. Oh, what about I'm gonna jump around a bit. What about if a parent is using a threat to get you to do something, such as, "If you don't come with me right now, there'll be no screen time for the rest of the day." Or for the rest of the year, which sometimes because we are so frustrated, we engage in that kind of thing. So, how might a child feel if a parent is threatening to take away a fun activity just because they're not walking to the car or not going to the bus stop to leave the park?
I I get two feelings. I think discouraged and untrusting.
Mhm. Right, right. Um, how about when a parent is playing with a child, has gotten down or up, depending on what the activity is, like gotten down into the sandbox with a young child or throwing a ball for a kid who's practicing batting or something like that. How would a child feel when their parent is playing with them and just having a good time playing together?
I would feel peaceful, like just relaxed,
Mhm.
happy, connected, I guess.
Yeah.
Connected.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Oh, what about when a parent and a child are sharing a good joke or a funny thing that they've seen? Not something hurtful, not watching some poor child fall off the slide or something, but they see a funny bird doing something, dragging a piece of bread or something. They're having a good laugh. What might that feel like?
Connected.
Mhm.
Um, like fun. Mhm.
Yeah, just yeah. This is the way it should be, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and what about with the countdown? If your parent is telling you, if you don't do this, something's going to happen when I get to 3 or 5, and now it's 1, and then it's 2, um, how would you feel as a child in that situation?
I feel, yikes, I gotta hurry.
Yeah.
Stressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, stress. And I guess there are some kids out there that almost feel like, show me.
Mhm.
They don't believe that it's really gonna happen, probably because it
Yeah. Right.
hasn't happened before, right? We as parents, we use threats to make something happen, and we think if they're good enough, we won't have to do it because they'll follow through and do what they're supposed to do. What about when you have a parent who thinks to kind of preview what's coming up? We're leaving the park now. We're gonna go such and such a place. We'll be there for 10 minutes, then we'll drive home and we'll have our snack or something like that. What might that feel like? What would a child be feeling when a parent is just taking that minute or two, kind of let them know what's happening for the rest, for the next hour or two?
Secure.
Secure, did you say?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Secure.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna add relaxed,
Relax.
Mhm,
um,
Mhm.
and sort of like, I've got this,
mhm.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move to the next column,
Okay.
and this is the expectations, and so for the ones that we've identified some feelings, and for those of you who wanna lead this exercise at some point, you don't have to do every one that people share. You just pick out some that are on the positive side and some that are maybe the signs of not parents at their best or whatever. Anyway, okay. So let's imagine that a child has lived within a family or been in a childcare situation when on a regular basis there is yelling when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And as a result, um, you, the child, have felt fearful on a regular basis. How would you expect that child to kind of turn out? How might that child be as a result of living that way for quite a long period of time? Or what characteristics might that child have as a result of that?
I think you wouldn't trust, you'd be afraid to trust others. You'd be afraid to show up not perfectly, maybe.
Yeah, maybe not able to trust, not able to be there. Um, and that fearfulness might continue. You might have a fear of authority figures and what might happen.
Yeah.
What about the child whose parents have used rewards or bribes on a regular basis? And maybe you were the kid that felt like, maybe sort of small, not feeling very capable really, or courageous in that situation. What would you expect that child to, what characteristics might you expect that child to have when this has been going on for a long time and they're close to grown up?
Well, I feel like even if you get rewards and you feel like, "Yay, I got the lollipop," or you feel sort of small, like I thought I would feel, I think either way, you're looking at everything going, "What's in it for me?"
Uh,
Yeah.
Right? Like, you
Right.
would look at the world and say, "Well, what are you gonna give me if I follow the speed limit?"
Mhm.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
That expectation that everything that I'm supposed to do will be followed with something that's to my benefit, you know?
Yeah. Or it's
Yeah.
not worth me
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, what about if we go down to a child who's been in a situation where threats were used on a regular basis to try to motivate the behavior that the parent or caregiver wanted, and as a result of this happening on a regular basis, this kid has been feeling discouraged, untrusting, for quite a while. What would we expect that child to look like when they're, close to leaving the nest?
I see someone who is with like a low self-esteem in the sense that they don't trust their abilities. They are always looking out to see where is the next threat gonna come from.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Worried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they may not feel that, that capable to handle the things that come their
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. Okay. And what about when parents and children, when a child had the experience on a regular basis of just having a nice fun time with their parents? And as a result of that fun time, they experience feeling relaxed and connected and just enjoying things. What would that child look like as they got older? Do you think, or what qualities would they have? What could we expect from them?
When I was caring and
Caring? Did you say?
yeah,
Yeah.
caring.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
able to be in relationship, like
With others.
Yes.
capable of a solid relationship. That's
Hmm.
interesting. In our list of goals, we didn't put
Mhm.
like good at relation, like
Relationship.
a good partner, or a good
Uh-huh.
friend.
You can add
Yeah.
that. It's
Okay.
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 All right.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So caring, knowing how to get along with people, how to have a good relationship, absolutely. And what about, families that laugh together? Children and parent that laughs together. They have to just find the funny in life, and they felt like life is fun. This life can be fun. What would they be like? Yes, it's still fun. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
It's
so
possible.
hopeful.
Not that it's all fun,
Yeah.
but that one can find the fun in it.
And
Yes, hopeful.
hopeful, right? Like you'd be, there's hope. Things can be funny even if it feels hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they learn how to deal with difficult situations and how to, I mean, not make a joke out of it necessarily, but they can find the humor in even challenging situations, you know? Um, what about the countdown? Here's a child who felt like yikes or felt stressed as they were, seeing as the parent, the countdown 1, 2, 3, do I have to do it? Do I not have to do it? Or, what's going to happen to me? If this was happening on a regular basis, how might you expect that kid, what one aspect of that kid as they're older, after having experienced that countdown every time they didn't
Yeah.
do something at the first request?
I would feel like, do you think it would be that if that people need to be in control, and either I'm in control of others and they do what I want, or I need to be obedient and submissive to what everybody wants to get along in life? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's sort of a control thing happening there.
Mhm.
It feels like, and it's like if people have to make it go their way to be okay or something.
Right. Right. I mean, people, yeah, all of that, as you say, all of that control that was attempted to be done with that child. We don't know if it was successful or not. Um, One can get the idea that uh, either others control me, or I need to figure out how to control myself or
Okay.
try to control the situation, particularly when they get out there in adulthood and you can't count down to three with, with your coworkers or whatever. What about our last one? A parent who regularly kind of let kids, particularly young kids, but also older kids, kind of have a sense of what was happening, what was going to come next. Uh, and you identified that a child that had those previews on a regular basis would come away feeling secure and relaxed and feeling a sense of, I get this, I know how to do this.
Well,
How might you see that child as they got older? What
they
would you
have a
see?
sense,
Pardon?
like a sense of capability
Yes.
and adaptability as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I mean, they've been given so many opportunities to kind of see how things line up, to feel like, yes, for me, life has some predictability. That, as you said, gives me a sense of security. Therefore, when I'm put in situations when things are challenging or difficult, I feel capable. I feel like I can flow with it as needed, or stand up for what I need to stand up for. Uh, yeah, all right. So now we've kind of followed these children through their, growing up as being parented or cared for with certain methods, and we've identified how they felt in that situation. And then after having experienced those methods many, many times over the years, experiencing those feelings many, many times over the years, you've identified um, how they might feel and what characteristics they might have as they get toward the time of leaving your nest. So we at the start of this activity, we set some goals, some qualities, some values that we wanted our children or the children we were caring for to have after a lifetime with us. Um, a young lifetime. Um, what do you notice about the goals that you set at the beginning of this exercise and the information that you've shared about the children experiencing those methods and experiencing them often over the years? What connection can you make, or what do you see between those two columns of expectations and the goals that you set? Anybody?
Yes, sometimes the methods you use don't give you the results you want or will not give you those results.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you all set out, you wanted to raise children who were accountable, who were responsible, who were caring citizens, engaged in where they lived, etc. They're honest and able to do hard things, have a good work ethic, etc. But we didn't necessarily get to any of those except with the playing together, laughing together, previewing. We started to see some of those. But let's say what you wanted was a child who was responsible in adulthood, accountable. Um, what methods would you want to use to achieve that? Because the yelling didn't help you get there, and the rewards didn't help you get there. In fact, it's the opposite. What's in it for me is not a sense of responsibility, um, etc. So, how would you raise a responsible child? What would you need to do? What method would you want to use instead? And if people have any ideas, I will tell you that having taught this many, 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 many times over the years, I would be at this point where I would get the blank stares. Which I totally understood. I had the same blank stare on my face when this was I was led in this exercise as a participant in a parenting class. That's how I started. Um, but what comments do you have about this? Or what else do you notice about this exercise and what results you came up with here?
So I guess you'd have to think of what can I offer? What opportunities can I offer my child that would strengthen that value or that ability that I want them to get. So if I want them to be responsible, they need to be able to cooperate or have some kind of job at home that it's their responsibility uh, to get done. Otherwise, it affects the family system, not because there's going to be a punishment, but because it's part of life. If you don't do it, if it doesn't get done, then something else
Mhm,
might happen
mhm.
as a natural consequence from
Right, exactly,
that.
natural or logical. I mean,
Hmm.
what the advantage of this, exercise is that, it helps us to see the things, maybe the methods that we were raised in, that we automatically fall back on because that's the way we know initially. But as you work to be, we see that's not working, sometimes we keep doing it because parents are so
Yeah.
busy and have so much on their plates that it's really hard to stop and kind of be mindful of the situation. This isn't working. It's time to find something new. And that's where a parenting class, and specifically a parenting class based on the teachings of, Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs and Dr. Betty Lou Batner and Dr. Amy Lou and others, um, give us other ways that are not going to be met with some of those feelings that we don't want our children to have to experience, or some of those expectations that aren't working out to meet the goals that we have. Um,
You know what's coming up for me as I look at all of these methods and the feelings and then the expectations. And then I look back at the goals that we had set. And I'm thinking, anytime there's a problem, my job as a parent is to model the goals I have. So like something goes wrong or sideways, how do I model accountability? How do I model responsibility, being a caring, like all of those things, like how am I doing that? And it's so hard to do it when you're frustrated or when you feel pressured or when you have 100 worries from work and then you're at home and you trip over the shoes one more time, like it's so hard to like not lose it on the little things and and model what we want.
mhm. Yes, so true. Oh my goodness. Um, yes, but so for, parents that are listening to this, or caregivers for that matter, the thing that I loved about Adlerian, parenting that came from the ideas of Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs was just all of the different ways to parent that came out of their theories and their ways of doing things that never occurred to me. I mean, I thought the way you made a child responsible was when they were irresponsible, you punished them, you yelled at them, that was pretty much it. My parents did give me very small allowance, and when that allowance was gone, there was no other purchases being made. I mean, they were not permissive at all, um, and so I did learn from that. I did learn some responsibility from that, but, we have other options with that too. The whole idea of giving responsibility to kids at times when we're not 100% convinced that they're up for that responsibility or they're old enough to do that, handing a small glass bowl to a 2-year-old who's toddling across the room, scares the pants off of some parents. But when you use your encouragement, you describe how carefully they're holding it and how they're stepping carefully one step in front of the other, etc. They are able to do it, and they learn how to do it, how to protect that bowl
Right.
from the encouragement that you say. That I have to say that never occurred to me until I learned it in a parenting class. But what, trust them to do some things? But anyway, but it works. It does work, and they rise to the occasion, really. So yeah.
Another tool that's so valuable in all of this is you mentioned it kind of slightly where you said if you what you notice. So, like, you thought when they mess up, giving them a hard time, having a strong consequence, but instead, when there's a little movement towards something useful, noticing that movement, rather than expecting perfection or getting upset, but noticing something useful and just letting the rest kind of slide by for the moment.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean,
And
I remember the person that I learned this approach from is a woman named Linda Jessup, who founded a family education center in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., called the Parent Encouragement Program, which is still there. Um, she would describe when entrusting a younger child with something like a breakable glass, or something that if it fell it might get hurt. She would say, as the child starts to walk away with it, "Ooh, I see the muscles in your arms are starting to pop out. You're holding the bowl so carefully," or something like that. It never occurred to me to do that either. But yeah, just noticing and describing that wonderful type of encouragement gives them the information that they need, helps them realize what they're doing, without needing to do the good job, or, you're the best at that. You're going to be a professional bowl carrier for the rest of your life, or so, the things that we say as parents,
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, yes, that noticing and describing is I think it was what my favorite type of encouragement, because it was the one I could remember in the moment. There's so many different ways to say encouraging things, but that was the one I always could call on because I could remember. Notice and describe.
What comes to mind is allowing them room for learning and making mistakes, and that mistakes are okay.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel like we put so much pressure on children to be
Absolutely.
perfect and to not make mistakes, and there's
Yeah,
no learning from that.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, we don't, most parents don't have a good sense of what a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 14-year-old is actually capable of doing, because we didn't train as teachers for those ages. So we kind of learn on the fly, but sometimes we just don't know. I think that's another advantage of getting together with other parents and learning this approach. um, you kind of get a better sense of what kids can do because other people are sharing. Oh, I have my child was doing his own laundry when he was 6 years old. It's like, what? But yes, absolutely.
Yeah. 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 The
Yeah.
parenting groups are so fabulous, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, absolutely.
on that note, I invite everybody to look up circlein.org, where we've got a list of some activities and parenting programs and options going on, and we hope you'll join us. And we hope that you got an idea for your pocket today from this podcast. Thank you so much, Patty. And thank you, Fernanda, for
Thank
being
you,
with us
Margie.
today.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, it's really a treat. And hang on, stop sharing.